hope you're all doing well and having a wonderful start to the festive season. In today's episode of the Tax Studio Sessions, we are going to be diving into some tips for freelancers and side hustlers with actionable strategies to help you stay on top of your taxes and maximize your savings. This is a topic that often feels intimidating, but it really doesn't have to be. By the end of the episode, you will have clear, actionable steps to help you save money, reduce stress, and stay compliant with your taxes. Let's get started. The first thing is to understand your taxes. Why does understanding your taxes matter? It is so crucial for those of you who are freelancers and side hustlers. When you're self-employed, taxes aren't automatically deducted from your income like they are in your traditional 9-to-5 jobs. This means that you are responsible for reporting your income, tracking your expenses, and paying the right amount of tax to HMRC. For example, if you earn £20,000 from freelancing, if you don't plan for taxes, you might spend most of it and then realise too late that you owe thousands of pounds to HMRC, which is not a fun surprise for anyone. Failing to file your tax returns on time or paying your taxes late can really lead to some hefty fines and really high interest charges. Don't worry. By staying organised, you can prevent this, and hopefully in today's episode, we'll give you a guide as to just how you can do that. Let's dive into some actionable strategies to make tax season a little less stressful and a whole lot more rewarding. The first strategy would be to separate your business and personal finances. I think especially when you are a freelancer or you're self-employed, it can be really easy to sort of blur the lines together and just assume that you'll put money back into your personal account or put money back into your business account. But it's important that there's a clear financial distinction, because if not, you're going to get all muddled up, and this will make it a lot harder to keep track of your income and expenses, especially when it comes to filing your taxes. I've spoken to a graphic designer quite recently who saved hours and hours just by keeping her freelance earnings separate from her personal shopping expenses. This meant that when it came to preparing her tax return, she wasn't having to sift through and identify the personal expenditure and take that out or have it added back in her return. It just made life so much simpler and so much easier. This can happen for you too, as long as you have two separate accounts, or at the very least make sure that there is a very clear distinction between what is business related and what is a personal expense. The next strategy that I would suggest would be to track every single expense. Claiming business expenses is the key to reducing your tax bill, whether it's equipment, software, subscription, home office space, even part of your internet bill. You can always claim a little bit of your expenses back, and by keeping track, this will help you to maximize your deductions on your taxable income. If you spend £500 on a new laptop, then that's a direct deduction from your taxable income. You can use so many apps, whether it's QuickBook or Xero, to record your expenses in real time, or even just have a spreadsheet where you jot these things down weekly to make sure that you keep track of these. The next big tip that I would say is to know your tax deadlines. Mark your calendars. In the UK, tax returns are due on the 31st of January, and you have to make payments twice a year, one in January and then the other one in July. Now, this is fast approaching. I know we're in the festive season, so everyone's focused on Christmas right now, but tax season is really going to sneak up on us. So make sure you set a reminder to avoid the last minute panic. The next step that I would say would be to take advantage of your tax allowances. In the UK, we have a £1,000 trading allowance, which essentially means that the first £1,000 that you earn from your freelancing or from your side gig is tax-free if you're not registered as self-employed. This can be such a lovely surprise, whether you're just starting out your side hustle or perhaps you're just figuring it out and you maybe haven't gotten all the sales that you want. It's an added relief to know that you don't have to pay tax on the first £1,000 of your income. The last tip that I would give would be to hire a professional where necessary. Hiring a tax accountant or a tax advisor is honestly not as expensive as a lot of people think, especially as you continue to grow in your side hustle or in your freelancing. Your expenses and your income can become too high for you to track, and it really can be beneficial to spend just a couple of £100 on a tax accountant or a tax advisor to help you get through this process a little bit easier. I personally work in that field, and honestly, we do it on a day-to-day basis. It will be so much easier for us to give you a helping hand when your business grows to that level of complexity. It will help you to save time and honestly a lot of money with the deductions that you don't necessarily know are available. Okay, now let's talk about how to prepare for the next financial year. This can always seem a little bit overwhelming, but if you just start slow and save for your taxes throughout the year, set aside 20 to 30% of your income for taxes in a separate savings account. Think of it as prepaying for peace of mind, whether you see it as a direct debit or whether you see it as an actual additional expense, which isn't deductible for tax, but whether you see it as that to make it a little bit easier for yourself. This will help you to not be so overwhelmed when your tax return is due and then you're faced with this big bill. It's also very important to review your finances quarterly. Every 3 months, have a little look at your income and your expenses and your savings to ensure that you're on track, and then you can make amendments where necessary to ensure that you're not caught out when it comes to submit your tax return. The next thing would be to stay educated. Tax laws always change. We've seen this very recently with the budget that's just come out, and we'll see it again, I'm sure, in the spring budget and whenever HMRC decides to change a little bit of guidance that they give us. Tax law is always changing. So by following podcasts like this one, or even having a newsletter that you have a little browse through every week or every couple of weeks, will help you to stay up to date. Knowledge is the first step to really taking control of your finances. So just doing small little steps like following accounts, listening to podcasts, and tuning into the news every so often will really help you to stay on top of your finances and stay on top of your taxes. So that's a wrap for this episode. Taxes really don't have to be scary if you stay informed and stay organised. Remember, it's not just about compliance, it's also about keeping more of what you earn. So if you found this episode helpful, make sure you share it with your fellow freelancers and side hustlers, and always remember to follow the Tax Studio sessions for more tips. See you guys next week. Bye.